Why, hello there, children of the night, and here we are. Just like everything else, this fanfiction as well must come to an end. Even though I did this, doing back-to-back parts of this reaction video, I still want to know how this fanfiction comes to an end, and so, it's, and I hope all of you, a lot of people watch this series because I don't know if you could tell, but I had a lot of fun recording this. And I hope in my opinion, this will easily be the biggest reaction this will be easily the biggest reaction project that I have done. I wouldn't really call it a project, but I think that's the best way to describe it. This is probably the biggest project I've ever done since my Friendship Games reaction, and heck, even my Halloween special was only 3 parts. This was 5 parts. And maybe in the future there will be a project that's bigger, that's probably bigger than Friendship Games and my Halloween special and this combined. But so far, this is my biggest project yet, and I hope all of you actually take the time. All my subscribers take the time out of their day to see this. Because I don't know if you can tell, I'm having a lot of fun reading through this. So anyway, I hate to see this fanfiction. I hate to see this fanfiction finally come to an end. But all good things must come to an end. So let's dive into Something Sweet to Bite Part 5, the finale. Kanome and Nemogak.
By the time it was all over, Twilight and her friends were all soaked in scarlet. Twilight's once white lab coat was a lost cause, dyed almost completely crimson by the stinking fluids that gushed from the candy mare, and from her friends' dead and broken bodies. She, Pinkie, Scootaloo, and Sweetie Belle returned to the library together, the ordeal rendering them silent as they walked like automations through the streets. The mare had snapped out of her trance long enough to assign a few ponies to gather up the remains of the dead, helping the injured to the hospital and cleaning up the town square. After giving out the orders, she immediately broke into hysterical laughter and was led away by a few kind ponies. Twilight suspected they would be electing a new mayor soon. She thought about that as they trudged through the dark streets, about who might be the next mayor, about the library, about anything really, anything at all. Anything to keep from thinking about what they had just seen, what they had done, and the sad, hateful little monster that had hurt so many. She had to distract herself, lest she too would need some kind ponies to guide her away. The rest of the town seemed relatively untouched by the slaughter that had happened in their midst. It was likely that many were not even aware of what had occurred. Billies and Colts still went from house to house trick-or-treating. Spike waved cheerfully to them as they came closer to the library. Without saying a word to one another, the 4 ponies decided to go around the back entrance and hose off before going inside. Twilight dumped her costume in the trash bin before opening the back door and entering her home. The library was still decorated with bats. Twilight found herself unconsciously counting them over and over. She didn't want to think about what she had to do next. The letter she would have to write to Celestia. What lesson had she learned from all this? Was it even a lesson worth learning? This is what she contemplated as she guided the 2 exhausted children upstairs. After everything that happened, she couldn't dream of sending them home just yet. Scootaloo and Sweetie Belle could spend the night tonight. Grabbing a few towels for herself and the shivering pair of friends, Twilight dried herself and the 2 fillies off thoroughly before tucking them into her bed. If need be, she'd sleep on the guest bed tonight. Right now, all that mattered to Twilight was that she hold the girls tight as they vented their emotions. They wept over having witnessed so much carnage and the loss of so many friends. Twilight could feel tears burning in the corner of her own eyes as she at last allowed herself to think of what had happened, what she had done. They almost all had done. Technically, they weren't guilty of cannibalism, but it was close enough that she feared many would be scarred for life by participating in that alone. Thinking about the faces of all those that had surely tasted on that cursed candy, Twilight bit her lower lip until it bled to try and hold the sobs in check. Scootaloo and Sweetie Belle managed to cry themselves silently to sleep. Perhaps their thoughts were the same as her own. Twilight didn't want to wake them with her own sobbing. Before she might lose control completely, she left her bedroom and went downstairs where Pinkie Pie sat, the head of her puppy costume sitting sadly next to her on a low table. There was no removing the bloodstains from around its mouth, but the pink pony seemed loath to part with it.
How are they holding up?
Asked Pinkie Pie immediately. Then, after taking a good look at Twilight,
How are you holding up?
they're sleeping now. I wish they could wake up and this would have all just been a bad dream. I wish we could all wake up. Twilight's words failed her as she tried to gather herself. It was getting harder each time. As for me, I don't know how I'm doing. I want to be strong. I need to be strong. But I've never seen or heard anything so terrible in any of my studies in my entire life. Not even the chaos of Discord was half as horrible as this,
I know.
was all that Pinkie said as she wrapped her forelimbs around Twilight in a tight hug. How can you be so strong, Pinkie? Asked Twilight. And the rest of us were watching that thing try to piece itself back together. You just took care of things. Her friend just shook her head.
No.
Shh. She squeezed her friend tightly as she said,
Twilight, you were the strong one. When all I could think of to do was tell every pony to run, you actually stood up to that monster. All I did was eat a few pieces of candy.
Pinkie gave a self-deprecating smile. Her words made Twilight feel a little better, but she knew it would be a long time before she would ever feel like she had done anything worthwhile.
I'd better head back to Sugar Cake Corner soon to check on the cakes. Will you be alright on your own?
Twilight nodded, though she wasn't at all sure she really would be. She could feel fear gnawing at the pit of her stomach, more fear than she'd felt when she was facing the Candy Mare down. Facing down a monster was somehow easier than facing the consequences of one's own actions. As she guided Pinkie to the front door, the fear seemed to grow inside her. She was about to tell Pinkie that she wouldn't be all right, that she didn't want to be left alone, when Spike opened the door and stumbled into the pair of ponies. Twilight, stammered Spike. The front of the baby dragon's costume was soaked in blood. His sharp teeth were bared in a horrible grimace, though there was no other expression he could make. His lips and most of his face had been ripped off. He hissed through his bloody teeth and said, I think there might be something wrong with Rarity, before collapsing on the spot. Just outside, a single smiling jack-o'-lantern lit the dark, foggy night. Twilight didn't remember carving any pumpkins. The orange glow washed over the white, ghostly figure that stood on Twilight's front stoop. The thing chewed casually, callously, blood trickling from her mouth as she slurped down the purple dragon flesh. The spider ornament in her hair was quite fetching, though the rest of her body was oddly warped and swollen. Oh, Rarity! What are you doing? Screamed Twilight. The white unicorn's head tilted at her mane, and she began to walk slowly inside. As she entered the library, her skin began to brown and blacken. A smell that reminded Twilight of campfires tickled her nose. That was when she realized why Rarity looked so strange and puffy. Her body was nothing but marshmallow. The creature that had been Rarity made a strange keening moan and slunked back into the shadows. The lights inside the library began to flicker on and off as the wind rose out of nowhere. I don't understand! What's going on? Why is it happening? Twilight turned to Pinkie, desperate for answers.
I don't know, Twilight, but I don't feel so good.
The pink pony doubled over in pain, clutching her stomach as she retched up a gout of blood and candy. She collapsed into her own vomit and began to writhe on the floor in agony.
Oh, it hurts. Oh, it hurts so bad. Twilight, help me. Please, help me.
To her horror, her friend's skin began to crack, blood seeping from the fresh wounds in Pinkie's eyes and ears. Her big, blue, bloodshot eyes were forced up out of their sockets and hung by their nerve endings as she gurgled. Her screams were choked off as her own intestines began to rise from her mouth, spilling with a wet slap on the floor of the library. At last, Pinkie Pie's body popped like a gore-filled balloon, splattering viscera all over the library. Something new slowly stood where a pink party pony had once been. It still looked like her after a fashion. Darkness engulfed the library as every light died, save the harsh orange glow coming from the pumpkin on the stoop. Even by the dim light, however, it was plain that the pink pony's flesh had taken on the consistency of bubble gum, and her mane and tail were now as cotton candy. In the sudden darkness, there was silence in the library. It didn't last long. A susurrant of voices swirled through the books, flipping pages and flapping the wings of fake bats. From Pinkie's former flesh, something white and shiny began to move, began to piece itself back together. A shattered skull took shape, rolled and turned so that the empty eye sockets gazed up at Twilight. A spine began to wiggle back from the base of the thing as it giggled and squealed. Over and over as it rolled around in what was left of one of Twilight's best friends. Already, the Candy Mare was coming back.
Nightmare night.
A voice giggled. A new jack-o'-lantern flared to life just below the Pinkie monstrosity's grinning face. Her teeth were pink needles of rock candy.
What a fight!
Another voice joined in as the thing that had once been Rarity came inside and politely closed the door behind her. As the door clicked, Twilight ran, stumbling in a panic in the dark. She had to make it upstairs. She had to save the children if nobody else. She wouldn't let them be devoured in their sleep. As she clambered up the stairs,
Seriously,
the
where did
twisted
those
monsters
jackal
that had
ponies
once
come
been
from?
her friends came calmly, if jerkily, behind her. As she made it to the landing, two small, grinning pumpkins awaited her. In their dusky light, Twilight could see it was already too late. Two pairs of gumdrop eyes glistened at her from a single gelatinous form that writhed amid the mire of blood and tangled sheets. In death, Scootaloo and Sweetie Belle had fused into a single grotesque entity. Perhaps it was better that they had gone in their sleep.
Hear us, you sweet Twilight.
Their twinned mouths gurgled as one. Twilight could hear some pony hammering at the front door. She wanted to shout, "Run! Get away!" However, even as she filled her lungs to scream, she realized there was no hope. The fear churning inside her guts began to spread, filling her with pain beyond imagining. She could feel her skin stretching, her bones popping, and something living moving beneath her flesh. It was like thousands of tiny mouths biting her, eating her from the inside out. What was worse were the thoughts of images playing out behind her eyes. So much death, so much pain, and the endless darkness of moonless existence one could scarcely call night. But she could see it. But she could see the firelit circle of life, and that bright light and heat pained her deeply. All life must be extinguished if she were to know the peace and safety of the dark, if she were to escape the fear that replaced every fiber of her being. Twilight writhed on the bathroom floor, not even noticing the blood seeping from her every orifice. She just wanted it to stop. She just wanted to die. When the toothy grins of her former friends drew close to her pain-wrecked body, she didn't resist. At least this way, the end will be swift, she thought. She wouldn't become like them. The creatures that had been Rarity and Pinkie Pie started to eat her with gusto, beginning with her stomach. They buried their faces deep into her bowels and chewed and slurped her flesh and fat from the inside out. Sadly, even as they ate her, Twilight could see a fifth jack-o'-lantern flare to life. It was her own pained and sorrowful expression carved into the orange surface. She could tell instantly. With her eyes trained to see magic, it was no ordinary candle that burned inside the shell, but the light of her very own life, a life that was being taken from her. The flicker of its flames were the last thing Twilight saw before the light faded from her eyes completely. Something new rose from the tattered gloom that was once the element of magic. Something giggled as it saw the world through black-currant eyes. Something whispered, "Hungry." A knock on the palace main entrance thundered
Oh
through the
crap.
halls.
Luna,
It was
you
very
are
strange,
so
thought
dead.
Luna. The Nightmare Night Ball had been thrown in her honor and had ended hours ago. Her poor, sweet sister Celestia had already stumbled to bed quite some time ago, giving leave to most of the servants to take their rest as well.
The Candy Mare
Luna
is back, and she
suspected she might
brought
have to
me
raise
to
the
take you off
sun
your
the morning
throne
in her sister's
and
stead. Not
and
that
tell you
she
to put
minded.
and practically tear
It
you
had
to
been one
pieces
of the most wondrous nights
for
Luna could
basically your
remember.
night. You're
It was
turning into
true
Nightmare
she had
Moon,
ended
and
up having to
she
scrap her plans
Candy
to
Bear
visit
thinks
Ponyville as she had
Nightmare Moon
promised,
tried to
but she
take her
was sure that
place.
the children would understand.
Ugh.
It was the dead of the night now. However, the moon having long ago set, usually only herself and the night guard were active at these wee morning hours. In fact, it was odd that one of the guards hadn't answered the knocking that threatened to wake the whole palace. Though it was their lot to patrol the night guard did take on their duties as the palace guards when Luna was in residence. Where were they? Striding quickly, yet gracefully, Luna went to the grand door in the main hall, and used magic to unlock and raise the ponderously heavy portcullis. With that done, she winced as the knocking sounded once more, louder this time. With a less exertion, Princess of the Night opened the golden double doors, preparing to demand what exactly was going on. The words turned into a gasp of shock. She knew what happened to the guard now. The drawbridge had been left down, and the gates to the castle walls were open as usual. A sea of ponies teemed and mutilated as far as the eye could see. Each grinning face was lit by a jack-o'-lantern that sat glowing cheerfully at their hooves. That was disturbing enough, but what was worse were the dead bodies broken in half and half-eaten piled at the palace door. Standing atop the pile of bodies, mouth twisted into an expression of almost painful joy, the Candy Mare grinned hungrily down at Luna, the one creature who'd ever managed to slow her down. As the mare's candy corn grin parted, the sound of her childlike voice echoed in unison from the army of candy ponies. Trick or treat.
Well, okay then. That's how we're gonna end on that. We're gonna end on that note. And on that note, and note, in the words of Markiplier, and then the Candy Mare came back, and everyone turned into jackal ponies, and everyone died, including Luna. And that was something sweet to bite, and holy crap, Knackerman, you did a great job. I give you 2 thumbs up. So I'm gonna give my final thoughts on this fanfiction. But hold on, but can you just let me pace back and forth for a while? I don't know if you can see, but my hands are I'm shaking a little bit at that ending. I just gotta pace around so I can collect my thoughts. Now I think I'm ready to give my final thoughts on this fanfiction. Hands down, I'm just saying once this channel gets gets into more higher production quality things like top 10s, I think I'm gonna do I think in the far future I will when I have a lot more subscribers. I think when I have around 2,000 or 20,000 or 30,000 subscribers, I think I'll probably make a Halloween special, and basically counting down my top 10 favorite MLP Grimdark fanfictions. But I think I'll do it in the style of how Ken Icarus did his top 10 personal favorite scariest songs. Basically, he started off in a really creepy cabin or a really creepy place, and he basically wandered around the woods, but talking about what made the fanfiction what made the song so great. I think that's what I'm gonna do for my top 10 MLP fanfictions. But I'm just saying for now. But that's gonna be in the far future. But for now, I don't think you should expect me to do that anytime soon. Until I can get some much better equipment. But anyway, on with my final thoughts. This was a really, really great fanfiction. And I'm just saying, if I were to record my reaction to I Spoke to Miss Smarty Pants today, I probably would have I would probably be absolutely speechless, because that fanfiction easily hands down my favorite grimdark Twilight fanfiction. But anyway, back with my final thoughts. First of all, I should talk about the characters. I mean, the characters are obviously portrayed in pretty decently. I mean, they're not portrayed. Yeah, that's all I can say. They're portrayed pretty decently. And they seem pretty accurate. But in that beginning, as you saw in my first part, I knew that this would be some that the title would I knew that the title would pretty much be exactly what I was thinking at that time, when I was pacing back and forth. When they said that this something sweet to bite, well, now I know why they call it something sweet to bite. It's because this fanfiction is something sweet to bite into. Puns for days. God. But my thoughts on the Candy Mare. Now, this isn't the first time I actually saw the Candy Mare. I actually first saw the Candy Mare via the thumbnail artwork by what was his name? What was his name again? Caverny Kavoski. Yeah. I first saw Kevin Kavoski's art, Candy Mare art on artwork on DeviantArt, and I was like, and when I first saw that Candy Mare, I was like, is that Pinkie Pie? But at the time, I didn't know that this was that it came from a fanfiction. So, but still, the Candy Mare, like in between recordings of some of the parts of this fanfiction, I actually looked up images of the Candy Mare, and they all look pretty great. But I mean, there's not much, but they're pretty great for what they are. Seriously, hopefully WatchPony.com's top 10 MLP creepypasta list will give this fanfiction more attention, and hopefully more artwork, because I've already seen a good handful of artwork of the Candy Mare, but I want to see, and I've already seen, and pretty much a majority of that artwork doesn't really seem to portray what its body would look like. At least not normally. So, and hopefully someone will make an artwork of that. So, but I'm just saying, the voice no, I should also mention the voice acting. The voice acting in this, it was really good. It was pretty great. It was really great voice work. And all of it was done by it's Anna Maggie Pony and I think Lost Narrator joined into this. I don't know, but anyway, and I think Obab's, and I heard that Obab Scribbler joined in only to say a couple Fluttershy lines. And I'm just saying, I really like the Candy Mayor's design from what I've seen, and hopefully in the future there will be a lot more Candy Mayor fan art, because there's only been like 1 or 2 designs that I've seen. And I think we need more. We need more artwork of the Candy Mayor, so we can see, get a better idea of what she looks like. But I'm just saying, the Candy Mayor. No, I shouldn't. I'm just saying. But I'm just. No, don't say that. And the Candy Mayor's dialogue. Holy crap! If you don't really know, what I will look forward to the most in a Grimdark fanfiction as well, how they handle creepy and psychotic dialogue, and sometimes it's done well, because sometimes like I've heard from some people, it's kind of hard to do psychotic dialogue without it sounding cliche, but and I don't know if all these takes on it kind of sounded cliche, but if they are cliche, then I'm just saying it's a cliche that I'm still never gonna get tired of. I pretty much always it's basically pretty much a joy just to hear that what kind of twisted and psychotic things will come out of the main villains of the Twisted Pony's mouth. That's basically what I think. But that ending, I did not expected that to happen. I thought that it would just end on a sad ending. I'm messing up because I'm running out of things to say. So, I honestly expected this to end with Twilight and Pinkie Pie contemplating what they just witnessed, and it would mostly just end with Luna looking in the distance, and mostly reflecting on what just happened, on the things that have happened, not really noticing the things that have been in Ponyville, but apparently not. Apparently, the Rarity became one of the Jacko ponies, and Pinkie Pie regurgitated a bit of candy. She kind of exploded, and the Candy Mare basically used the remaining parts of her flesh and the regurgitated candy to, well, regenerate. And but still, where did those Jacko ponies come from? That's what I want to know. Where did those Jacko ponies come from? I mean, I know the Candy Mare is pretty strong and all, and she can even increase her own size. But how? But still, I didn't think she could make Jacko ponies. And I'm honestly running out of things to say, because pretty much Obab's. If you haven't really seen it, I think you should check out Obab Scribbler's MLP podcast about this fanfiction, because I think I haven't seen all of it yet, but I think I've only seen the first part of the podcast, but I think they'll agree with me when we both say that Something Sweet to Bite is definitely a worthwhile fan fiction to check out. And I know Nackerman is not really that well known, but seriously, Nackerman, he needs more attention. And from what I heard in the podcast, this is only part one of a trilogy Nackerman's gonna make of the Candy Mare. And honestly, I can't wait to see what Nackerman has in store for the Candy Mare. And whenever someone does a narration of the next Candy Mare fan fiction, you can I'm saying this, I'm using this saying again. You can bet your cutie mark I'm gonna react to that fan fiction. So overall, final verdict on the fan fiction. The story was pretty great, and it keeps you interested throughout the whole thing. The characters are well portrayed, as per usual. I've yet to encounter a fan fiction where the characters are portrayed in a bad light. But I think I will run into that kind of fan fiction one day. The voice acting in the fan fiction is top notch and really well done. And not to mention the atmosphere of the fan fiction. It's pretty engrossing. The gore, it's as you can tell by my look on my face when the gory parts happen. You could tell that Nackerman did a good job at describing gore. I'm just saying, I'm not really fazed by gore, at least not really fazed by gore at all. At least I'm not really fazed by the sight of gore. It's basically only how gore is written in fan fictions that kind of grosses me out. So yeah, I still have yet to get used to how gore is written in fan fiction. But anyway, back to my final verdict. The characters and on top of that ending, I don't know if I really like the ending, because if there is gonna be a sequel made to this, then I'm glad that the ending doesn't really beg for a sequel. It doesn't sequel bait itself because well, it knows that sometimes there's gonna be those readers that are only gonna read the very first story. So my final verdict for Something Sweet to Bite would basically be 10. 10 would basically be somewhere around 8. And I don't think I should give my final verdict yet. I am messing up all over the place. But I can say that the pacing sometimes it can be a bit slow for those readers who have patience, who are more impatient than I am. I mean, if a fan fiction, if they are intrigued by the story and they don't really have the patience to finish it, then I can kind of relate with that. I mean, I was going into the Asylum fanfiction expecting it to be like I spoke to Miss Smarty Pants today, except with an Asylum kind of theme to it. But what I got was a long fanfiction that is still going to this day, and I don't think I'm gonna catch up with it. Now, if you like the Asylum fanfiction, then kudos to you. I just don't have the patience to read the whole thing from all the way to where it's currently at right now. So that's why I would give this fan fiction a that's why my final verdict for this fan fiction is I am messing up all over the place. But like I said, if you're not real, if to those who aren't really a big fan of the pacing and just mostly skip ahead or even stop reading the fan fiction, and after part one, then I can kind of see where you're coming from when you say you don't really have the patience to finish it. So yeah, the pacing, I can see it's pretty well. I can see how some people would be slow. I think the pacing's pretty balanced, even though for some parts it can be a bit slow. And so my final verdict for Something Sweet Divide is eight Jack-o'-lantern ponies out of 10. In my opinion, it's a really great and worthwhile fan fiction if you're a fan of grimdark. However, if you're one of those people that doesn't really like long multi-part stories like story narrations like this, then I don't think you're going to enjoy this. But to those who have the patience to read through this and like grimdark as much as I do, then Something Sweet Divide is definitely a grimdark fan fiction that's worth checking out. So I thank you all for joining me through all five parts of this fan fiction. And stay tuned, Nick. And basically, I'm not really this is not really gonna be the end of me today. After all, it's still Saturday, so there's still an MLP episode reaction video to do. I think I'll probably do that at a little later on, but yeah, I think I'll probably do that a little later on. So, and I hope a lot of people, a lot of my subscribers actually check out this fan fiction, because I don't know if you could tell, I had a lot of fun watching this. I had a lot of fun. Well, yeah, I had a lot of fun watching this. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time, as you can tell from the beginning. But anyway, I think this outro is a bit long and drawn out, and most of you probably aren't gonna hear my thoughts on this fanfiction. You're probably just gonna be like, oh okay, so he's okay, probably gonna be like, okay, so I guess he likes the fanfiction. Click right here, yeah. And let's see what other things that let's see what other pony videos I missed. That's pretty much what most people are gonna be like when they see this video. But once again, I thank you all for joining me for Something Sweet Divide, and stay tuned because there's gonna be an MLP episode reaction series today. I think if there even is one this week. If not, then if there isn't really an episode today, then and if there's not really an episode, I have nothing to say. And if the episode isn't really out yet, then stay tuned next Saturday for an MLP episode reaction series. I'm so right. No one is going to want to hear my thoughts in this fanfiction because I stuttered too much. But once again, like I said, I thank you all for joining. Thank you all for joining me for this five-part fanfiction series, and stay tuned next Saturday when I actually don't know what other fanfiction I'm gonna think about tackling. Expect to be surprised next Saturday for what other fanfiction narration I'm gonna watch. So I know no one's gonna hear my thoughts, but still, thank you all for joining me for this project. Stay smiling, party on, and peace. God, I thought my thoughts are God, that my thoughts on this were long and drawn out. I need to stop stuttering.